I could barely give two damns about a deal. Don't see no point just to sell off my appeal. They don't even want me here if I'ma keep it real. Too many rappers, too little spots to fill. Just this verse buried your whole.
Hello and welcome back to another one. My name is Dennis Mabuka, and in this video I just thought I'd do a quick spooky Halloween themed tutorial, and we'll be looking at how to set up this lighting setup where we'll be using procedural workflows to create these flashing lights, and we'll be using the animation modifiers to do this. So I hope you learned something from this one, so let's just get into the video. So to see what's going on much easier, I have in this scene a very simple setup. It's just a cube in the middle of the scene, and then I have two lights and some volumetrics to help us see the lights better, because it's the lights that we'll be animating really. So we'll be animating the power of the lights, and the value on where you place your keyframe is going to be really important. We'll see, because that's going to form the baseline. You'll see this in a minute. So I'll set the power of the lights to 0 and then place a keyframe right there, and then you'll get the option to create the animation modifiers. And we're going to use 3 modifiers in this order. 1, the noise modifier; 2nd, the envelope modifier; and 3rd, the limits modifier. And just like the modeling modifiers, the order in which you place these modifiers is going to affect the results that you get. So I'll place the noise modifier, and the two options that we'll play with from this modifier mostly are the scale and the strength. And the scale will really control the frequency of the flashing of the lights. So if you want it to flash really quickly or more slowly, this is where you control that. And the strength, which controls just the strength, pretty self-explanatory. And then I'll add the envelope modifier, and the purpose of this one is to exaggerate the strength a lot more, and also it's going to help us to control, because we want to animate the lights. We have 2 lights in the scene, the orange one and the bluish purple one, and I want them, as they flash, to flash alternatively. The noise is going to create these random patterns, this random flashing, but we want to also sync the flashing, so when one is on, the other one is off, and when one is off, the other one is on. And the envelope modifier is going to help us control these curves to create that effect. And also I use it to exaggerate the strength, because the power of the lights, that are the value where we want it when they're on, is pretty high. So it just helps to exaggerate on top of what the noise modifier, the strength of the noise modifier has already done. And then lastly, I'm going to add the limits modifier, and this one just helps to cap the values that we want, because, for example, because we're animating lights, we don't want the lights to go to negative values. So it just helps to create the lower and upper limits for the values that we want. So on the limits modifier, I'll just enable the minimum Y and maximum Y checkboxes, and that enables you to set in the value that you want for those values. So with everything set up for the first lamp, pretty much majority of the work is already done. It's very easy to copy paste this modifier stack by just hitting this button on top here, and that just copies this modifier stack to the clipboard. And then I'll select the next lamp that I want to animate, and then just go to the first frame with the power at 0, because this will be the baseline value. I'll just paste the modifier stack onto this one, and that just pastes everything as we had it onto the second lamp. So to create that alternating effect that I mentioned earlier, what we'll need to do is play around with this value in the envelope modifier, the same value that we were using to exaggerate the strength of the noise modifier. And if you slide this value in the opposite direction, you'll see what it does is it flips the direction of the curves. And if I just disable the limits modifiers, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'll just use this to flip the direction of the curves in the second lamp, and then again use the limits modifier to just clip the lower and the upper bounds of where the values alternate between. So in this scene with this spooky boy, I have a bunch of lights surrounding him. And by the way, if you can think of a name to call him, because we'll be seeing him a lot more in future tutorials. So if you can think of something to call him, let me know down in the comments. I have a bunch of lights surrounding him. I have 4 point lights and 1 area light shining on him from the bottom to sort of give you that campfire sort of creepy kind of lighting. And 2 of the area lights are purple and 2 of the area lights are orange, and these are just the lights that will be flashing around him to give that spooky kind of feeling. So I'll select one of the lights and set the noise modifier and play with the scale and the strength. And then on top of that, I'll add the envelope modifier and add a control point, and this middle value will be the one I use to just exaggerate the strength of the noise. And then on top of that, I'll set the limits modifier and to just cap the lower and upper values of where I want the values to alternate between. So with that done, I'll just select the other red light, copy the modifiers from the previous one and just paste them onto this one, and that will be that. And then I'll select the purple lights, which I want to alternate, and just paste all the modifiers. And then inside the envelope modifier, I'll just play with the middle value again and just flip the curve so that when the red lights are on, the purple lights will be off, and when the purple lights are on, the red lights will be off. A cool thing about this is that you don't have to limit yourself to just animating the lights. Like here on this model, I painted on an image texture which I'm using to mask an emission shader. And in this mix shader, when the value is at 1 and the emission shader is coming through, I like how the texture on the model completely disappears. So as the flashing in the lights in the environment are happening, I also want this texture and the emission to also flash along with the lights, and I want the emission shader to come through when the lights are purple and disappear when the lights are red. So I'll just go back to the animation modifiers on the purple lights, just copy that and paste it onto this value in the mix shader. And because the lights have really high values, the only thing we'll need to change is the strength of the noise or the limits in the modifier stack, and just set it so that it's alternating between 0 and 1. And with that done, that animation is just transferred to the model that easily, and you can use this to animate whatever value really that you want in your project. So to recap, we're just using 3 animation modifiers. The noise modifier first, to generate random signals on the value that you're animating, and using the scale value to control the frequency of the noise and the randomness of whatever value you're randomizing, and the strength to amplify the strength of this random curve. And then the envelope modifier to amplify again the strength of the noise generated. And also, when we now duplicate it onto a new object and want to invert the effect, we'll use the same value to just flip the curves and create this inverse effect. And then the limits modifier lastly, to just set limits on the upper and lower values of the value that you're animating. So yeah, that's it. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something from this video. It was really fun to do, and I really look forward to doing more of these spooky kinds of videos, because that's where most of the kind of stuff I do, I really like to play with these kinds of emotions. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.